Hello and welcome to Blessed by Angels. In this coming season, we are going to be diving into my Oracle deck, the Blessed by Angels deck. Deck. I don't want to have to keep recording. We're going to make it easy. Hello and welcome to Blessed by Angels podcast. In this coming season, I feel so excited to be sharing with you messages that have been coming forward as I am working on an Oracle deck. Now, I thought that it would be fun to reflect upon the card and kind of just talk about the messages that come along with it and the inspiration behind it. So, without further ado, I would love for us to just jump right in. Welcome to the Blessed by Angels podcast. My name is Jen Gilbreth. Ever since I was a little girl, I have felt deeply connected to the angelic realm. Over the years, I have dedicated my time and energy towards delivering messages from beyond. Yes, that's right. I talk to dead people, although I don't necessarily consider them dead. In many ways, they are much more alive than us in this physical realm. On this podcast, I will be channeling messages from Spirit. Whether you tune in each week for the new messages or feel like picking a message at random, this podcast is designed for Spirit to lead you to the messages for you here and now. These messages have changed the way I view and play in life. I hope that these messages can do the same for you. Now, when creating this Oracle deck, I really was sitting with, okay, what messages, if I were to have 60 messages that have been reoccurring since showing up with channeling over almost 8 years ago at this point, what messages have been the most strong, the most potent, the ones that have kept with me all of this time or have evolved from one step or another? And so today I wanted to talk about one of my very favorite subjects of all time that has come forward throughout messages and spirit and channeling, and that is you are more than your pain. This is such an interesting topic because truthfully, in life, we can get stuck in the density of life. We go through heartache, heartbreak, we go through loss, devastation, grief, bitterness, betrayal. But we also experience the joy and the beauty that heartbreak brings along with it. If we never break, if a heart is never broken, does it ever have the capacity to fill and to not take for granted the love that it's receiving? There is two folds to everything, divine duality that I always talk about. But when it comes to our pain, it is so easy to get wrapped up in the heaviness and the heartache that either we become complacent, we become angry, we become numb to life. And in doing so, we pull ourselves away from being able to experience the bliss and the magic that can be experienced in this life. And for some, maybe they choose and they want to be in that space. Maybe it's generationally, or they don't know that there's a different way of being. I don't know if you've ever come across someone who was constantly miserable or constantly complaining, someone who just always had so much going on that it's hard sometimes to maybe bring them into our space because sometimes it's like, whoa, that was just so much for me to navigate with, right? And we think about someone in that intensity where it's like, man, all I can see and all the people that are surrounded by me are in a space of sorrow or are constantly having hard things happen and looking at the pessimistic side of things. And that feels like a lot to acknowledge, but there is something to say within that because that can be part of our experience here. And I have found that it's so easily experienced that we are like those that we surround ourselves with, right? But when we have this awareness that we are more than our pain, it gives a new sense of freedom to almost open up new conversation, new ways of being, new thought patterns, to be able to find a new expression and have a deeper sense of excitement and passion and purpose that comes back into life instead of feeling like, man, this life is just dense and there's nothing that's going to make me happy. So I might as well just find ways to numb out. But we are so much more than that. We came here to experience the magic and the beauty and the joy of life. So I wanted to read with you this message that is part on the oracle card here. It says, as a collective, we are being offered a profound opportunity to awaken to our true selves. Grief, rejection, disappointment, and loss are part of this sacred journey, but they do not define who we are. The pain and wounds you experience are not your identity. They are catalysts for deepening your soul and fostering personal growth. The true essence transcends gender, race, status, sexual orientation. You are a spirit having a human experience. Yes, you are here. And yes, you are human. But your pain doesn't have to define who you are. You are not alone. You have support from beyond, cheering you on every day. Take a moment to remind yourself that you are doing an amazing job. And I also have some questions that I can also leave into this space that I feel I'm a big journaler, and I think having the right kinds of questions can really spark who it is that we are. So here are some of the questions. Are you blaming your life's disappointments on your circumstances? What setbacks have you faced in life? What lessons from those setbacks, what have they taught you? I find these questions to be very opening as we connect even deeper into this human experience, for we are far more than our pain. And sometimes we experience grief and we get lost in a space of the unknown or in a space of trying to stay safe while we fall farther and farther away from being present in this current moment in time. We also can find ourselves really easily almost over identifying with our pain. And I've seen this happen in sessions, especially, I'll tell an experience in just a moment, but how often do we hold ourselves back or we play safe in life as a way of hiding from the pain? If we didn't have pain, we didn't have suffering, we didn't have, whether it be physically, emotionally, spiritually, right? If we didn't hold on to that suffering, what could we accomplish instead? What would we want to do with our life? I would hide away, meaning I would say, oh, I have a headache, I can't go today. And most days I did, but other days I just maybe didn't want to adult. I think that's also something that we can consider with this message is, are there things that we are holding ourselves back from fully experiencing because we don't want to experience pain? Or are we allowing our pain to be the catalyst for why we're not showing up big in our own life? I found that has shown up for me time and time again, and it's very disempowering. And one thing I've learned from the ancestral realm is they want to support us and to help us receive empowerment from within. And when we have empowerment from within, we are actually able to feel connected, to be happy, to be supported in those ways. Such an interesting thought to just think about. You know, it's very easy to see it maybe in other people, but I even had an experience recently with someone who I was working with, and one of her dear friends had ended their life and kind of the circumstances leading up to it. And as this individual crossed over, I was able to express this really deep awareness of how the pain and feeling not good enough, not showing up enough, not being fully, not rejected, the opposite of rejection, not fully embracing their own expression of life, of what they really felt called to, instead of feeling like they had to show up for everyone else in a very specific way. And in that message, it was just such a reminder that we can get so stuck in our own pain that we actually don't want to be here any longer. And it's not something to judge upon or make somebody bad or wrong for, but it almost is a reflection of our relationship with life. And the more that we over identify with our pain and we create that as an identity, we create that as who we are, and there's nothing else about us besides that, we tend to stop living. We tend to stop wanting to live. And it's almost as if it kind of closes down our heart. And when we have a lack of expression or when our heart is hardened, it's almost like it creates a dullness in life that overstimulates and it like is a blanket over everything. And our heart is the bridge. It's the bridge between our spirit and our body. And if we're not in the space of like listening to our heart or just seeing how we've allowed pain to quiet down the heart or push the heart away or make it not feel good enough, um, or it's too painful, it's like we close that portal between one or the other. And we may find ourselves too far in the spirit realm and not wanting to be here, or maybe so identified in the physical that we get stuck and lumpy and we feel like, man, nothing's working out for me. And it's all about finding that sweet spot in the center of our heart and the bridge of heaven and earth. And I think that this comes a lot with soul lessons and how they play a pivotal role in why we're here, and even within the pain that we do experience, because we are not our pain, but yet it's part of what we experience in this human life. And we chose to experience this, in my belief, that before we came here, this has been reflected to me again and again, that it's almost as if we've chosen lessons to learn and to experience in this life. And different individuals will come into our life as a contract to help us be able to master these lessons, whether it be a lesson of rejection. And I talk about that a lot being one of mine, is this constant fear of like, oh no, if I show up my full self, am I going to be rejected? And I've seen as a little girl, even leading up to me and me being 30 now, I can look back and see how one of the major lessons that keeps occurring in my life is rejection. And so when I look at relationships or pain or heartache, I'm able to reflect, oh, this is an aspect of rejection. And I allow myself to experience it, to experience the pain, the sadness, the betrayal, and also the self-love and compassion and forgiveness that it brings. Sometimes we must ride the wings of our eagle to be able to see above what is going on. And I find that our ancestors and our loved ones want to help us to heal our hearts so that we can see from a different perspective, a different way of not looking at life through wounding eyes, but to see above, to then allow us to experience it. And soul lessons play a huge part in that. You know, we may have a loss of a a loved one, and honestly, so often I've seen that these losses of loved ones have pushed the souls who are still here, going through the grieving process, into a whole new expression of themselves. And sometimes it's really hard to look at it that way. You know, I just have seen over and over how maybe losing a husband, and maybe we were very spiritual. You know, let's just say I have a woman that I've worked with, and because I have actually quite a few. um, but let's just talk about this. Her husband had passed, and in her life before that, he wasn't open to healing principles or more spirituality or more of this connection to the divine. And it's easy for us to kind of hone in or like close down certain parts of ourselves in certain relationships. As he was gone, it was like as we stepped into this path of healing and bridging, this loss of spiritual connection, of gifts, of having him in life, she was able to find a new part of herself that she had longed for her whole life, but just didn't feel like she had the space to be able to. And I see him as a catalyst for that, as it's almost as if his contract was, we're going to have this life, we're going to have these experiences. And then as I leave, it's going to help you step even deeper into this part of yourself that maybe you didn't feel like you could explore with me. And that's normal. And in a lot of circumstances, that's part of it. It's not that, we have to make it bad or wrong, but we're able to kind of look at life and maybe the pain that we experience and see maybe what kind of connection or contract could be associated with that. And it's really beautiful too because we don't have to always go through healing over and over and over and over again, because at some point it's like we came here to experience life and to have fun and to also experience all duality. But if we get too stuck in trying to always bring healing too, we get stuck ourselves. And so there's kind of a fine balance, I find, that really is had with it all. So, what I thought I wanted to do in kind of closing up this podcast is to just take a moment for us to experience the fact that we are more than our pain. And in fact, let's just take a moment to breathe deeply within your heart. And as you breathe in from your nose and you carry it through your throat, through your chest, all the way to the base of your stomach. And as you exhale, you're exhaling from that same space. Just really settling into your breath, knowing that you are safe, knowing that it is okay to experience fear, to experience pain. And as you continue to breathe, I want you to ask yourself, where am I over-identified at? Or where in life am I holding on to extra pain? And how is that playing a role in my life right now? And as you sit in that space and ask yourself and reflect upon this, I want you to just envision, to allow these words to settle into your soul. Yes, you were here, and yes, you were human, and yes, you have experienced all. There have been major times of grief, of disappointment, of sadness and sorrow. It is in the depths of that degree of sadness and sorrow that a new you has been born. A new you that is full of life and possibility. A new you of creation. It is almost as if you had to go to the depths of that sorrow to find a new seedling that is ready to grow and to be tended to. This emotion, this experience has been a catalyst for change. It's been a space to open up, to heal, to bring awareness. When we can look at life as an experience, these things that are showing up are part of what we're experiencing here, and yet they do not define who your big soul is. You are far more than your pain, than your suffering, than these experiences. For who you are is a spirit being coming to this earth to take on knowledge, creation, connection, and experience. I want you to take just a few more deep breaths in and out, allowing yourself a little bit of freedom. As we take a step back, we can truly see that we are here to experience so much more than pain. And when we embrace ourselves, we talk about healing, we talk about reawakening. People say, oh, everyone's awakening. But really, we're remembering that we don't actually need to live in a state of numbness, that we can truly embrace and feel the magic of the sunrises and the sunsets, the wind and the rain, the smell of fall and autumn quickly, and swiftly coming into our space. And when we can give ourselves permission to see that our pain has purpose, our pain is serving in these lessons, and yet I can still find happiness in these moments of pain. In these moments of purpose, I am here, I am present, and I am human. That's the beauty of seeing beyond, of being able to experience this part of life and know that we are here for a reason, for a purpose. All that is going on in your life is here as a teacher. When you take time to reflect, maybe that teacher won't show up as stubbornly. I've learned that to be true for myself. I just wanted to thank you all for listening to this beautiful podcast. I hope that it triggered a sense of love, a sense of purpose, and it opened up a new way of viewing life. For that is what our loved ones are here to accomplish with us, so that we can live our very most aligned and expressive life. Thank you for tuning in to the Blessed by Angels podcast. It is such an honor to deliver these messages from beyond. If you want to connect deeper to your angelic realm and the support team that you have, I have a plethora of resources on my website at blessedbyangels.org. And of course, I'll leave the link in the show notes. You are connected to the divine. Having divine connection is an innate ability that each and every one of us have. Before we came here, we were spirit. And after we leave this realm, we are introduced back into the spirit world. So having spirit-to-spirit conversations and knowings and understandings are innately and infinitely who you truly are. When we step into this body, we tend to forget. We are not separated from the divine. There is just a lack of remembrance. Thank you so much for being a part of this podcast, and I look forward to delivering more messages from beyond.